Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Monday morning. That's right. He's here in all his glory. And yes, in more ways than more reasons than one. Grumpy is in the house. I'm a little grumpy because we're going to talk about this shit now again. And Matush is in the house. What's happening? There's some good stuff.
Where
It's nice and warm out.
yeah,
Like
the
we're
good
up to
stuff
teens.
good stuff is that we're in positive degree weather and we might hit 10 degrees by 3 p.m. today, maybe. And if not, we try again tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a heat wave coming. I saw 15 or something like that on Wednesday, so it should be interesting. It was ridiculous if you're in the Chicagoland area over here. I think it's ridiculous throughout, mind you, but it's all relative, right? Like they say it's ridiculous, and then I get a picture posted. It's like 30 degrees and rainy or something like that in Houston, and I'm like, that is not ridiculous over there. All right. Scotty, Bob, Deluded Steve in the house. Deluded Steve still riding the right wave. There you go. If you're joining the show now, please do hit that thumbs up. And it really does help the channel. Obviously, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. But the key is definitely the thumbs up. The more I learn about these things, the more I'm finding out how important that is. So please, if you're watching live right now, hit that thumbs up and let's get rolling. And other last minute loss, and it's almost like the reverse now, like the first 5 game of the season when you were like something's gonna happen and you were waiting for something positive. Now we're waiting for something negative to happen, and I don't even know what to make of this one. I mean, there's so many freaking layers, and it's like an onion. The more you peel it, the more it stings.
I'm sick of this onion, man. I'm sick of it all. I don't want to keep doing this. This is just such a sad way to start every week. I mean, at least this is very much a therapy session for us and a lot of the people in the chat as well. They treat it as one too, so that works. It's comical at this point. I think we're gonna obviously talk about it a lot throughout the week. Maybe we'll see, but you just have to blame everything at this point. There is no single entity that deserves all the blame or none of the blame. It just has to be spread out through the entire team. And unfortunately for the head coach, for the manager, he's the one that's going to take the fall for it, because it's usually how that works.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to have the manager take the fall of the 15, 16 guys not playing well than it is to, change out every single player and make them take the fall. So, just another frustrating end. Of course, a long throw in, because it wouldn't be Liverpool without a long throw in at the end. And it's not like Bournemouth didn't deserve it, though, because there were several chances towards the end of that match where they probably should have nabbed one or two. It could have very well been 4-2.
It turned into a basketball match at the end. I thought we had a couple too, but yeah, it was like there's no midfield. It felt like a Major League Soccer game towards the end. Zero midfield, just people like like goal ends constantly, and yeah, some big chances missed as well. But I mean, here's the thing: that game, you're right. I think that's where I'm at right now, and I feel like I bought the tray out. It's ready to make the pie, because I feel like everyone deserves a slice over here. As I look at that lineup yesterday, and then then you see Van Dijk doing Van Dijk things, and then you kind of see when you do mistakes like that in the back, and you look at the rest of the squad, you look at the bench, what can be done. I can't find anything to be done. You look up line, you feel like there are a couple of players that you should have in those places that you don't. So I think the slice of the pie has to go to how the squad was built, and more importantly, how we're reacting. I think is probably more than like how it's built over there is my thing. Deluded Steve says, I would have thought Bulls and Bears for me instead of Lakers and 49ers. Well, it's not diluted, Tim. So that's why I'm not going. No, I can't. I can't stand the Bears. Not a Bulls fan either. You're both, right? You're both Bulls. You're a true Chicago
Yeah,
Prince.
by geography, you know, I ended up here in Chicago when I was 3 years old, so it is what it is. Yeah, I don't even know what to talk about anymore. I hate this all.
That's why we talk about that. See, like Bulls,
That's true.
Bears, Lakers, 49ers. There you go. Like ignore everything else. Actually, the reason I'm a 49ers fan is when I
Please, I
came
hope
over
this
here.
story takes
Yeah,
45
let's
minutes.
just change the
Let's
subject
go.
altogether. The Lakers thing is easy. When I grew up, the only NBA games you watch back home were Lakers Celtics, and Lakers were very close to Fenerbahce colors. So as a kid, I started rooting for Lakers, Showtime Lakers, and stuff like that. So that's kind of carried on. That's a lot easier. 49ers, well, I didn't know anything about football when I came here. I had this cake gig where I could give out quarters in college for like the washing machine and the dryer and stuff. And I rent out pool stuff. But then I was in the lobby with the huge screen and stuff. So I would watch football. My shift was Sunday noon to 6, dude. Like great football shift right there. And when I started watching football, West Coast offense, it looked the closest to soccer, if you will. There was like passing movement, short passes, instead of like, run up the middle kind of a thing. So I was like, these guys are kind of fun to watch. Steve Young and stuff like that. And there you go. I'm a 49ers fan. But
Really
that story
aging
didn't last
yourself.
as long as we wanted to. So now back to Liverpool.
You're really aging yourself with that Steve Young comment there, by the way.
Really? Yeah, I know, right? Because that was what, like Super Bowl 25 or 26 or some shit.
And now we're at 60.
Yeah, I remember that the Chargers against the Chargers, which I think that's what we're getting ready for over here. But I didn't hear anything about beating a foul throw. Oh, I didn't even see that. Was he? Is that what they were?
I don't know. I didn't see that. I feel like half of the throw-ins during the match are illegal anyway. I've seen so many guys not keep both feet on the ground that I don't understand what a foul throw is anymore. So I just look past it.
Is that what they were? Honestly, I was more embarrassed about all the complaining that we were doing after the goal. As a Liverpool fan, I was like, can we not do this? Like, you guys couldn't defend yet another throw in. I don't even know what they were complaining about. I felt maybe before watching the replays, I thought maybe someone kicked or touched Ali when he was trying to pick up the ball or something. Not even close. So I don't even know what they were like complaining about. So I'm like, this is embarrassing enough that we did this. Let's not embarrass ourselves worse. But I think Z was saying something about what doesn't make sense is Slot is talking about players playing too many games, but the idiot doesn't rotate. But I think that's where the other pie goes to, because I don't know who he's supposed to rotate. And when he rotates, everybody else, because he played Gakpo. I mean, I know everybody's going to come back and say Rio, but I think we saw what happens with Rio, right? Like, he had a couple of like good moments and stuff, but rest of the time he started getting bullied off the ball because he's still a kid. Ultimately, it didn't look like he was strong enough, especially a game away at Bournemouth, I guess.
Yeah, he's not going to be ready for that for 90 minutes of that, even 70, 80, however long you want Rio to be on there. He's not going to be ready for that yet. And there isn't anyone else to rotate with. The only other players you could argue to have in would be Jones instead of McAllister, maybe, and then maybe Robertson instead of Kirkes, if Kirkes was in that red zone that he was talking about. The problem is that that's it. There is nothing else. There is no – if we want so badly there to be rotation when the rotation doesn't exist, that's the frustrating thing. And I think Robbo, maybe with all the news coming out around Robbo, he probably wasn't going to start. And it was only after Gomez got hurt that then all those talks suddenly died, right? Because you're looking at it going, well, shit, well, now we're going to need to keep defenders. So I don't think that's why he started. But you can only blame the manager for the player, for the available players so much. Because then we're going to sit here and complain about him over-rotating and then putting in players who don't play together all the time. They don't have enough experience, and that's going to go poorly. Or you throw on Ekitike from the beginning and he gets hurt, and then you have no strikers at all for the last 3-4 months. It's really easy to sit here and say, well, you should just do this, do this, do this, do this. We don't understand what the consequences and ramifications are of players playing X amount of minutes, X amount of times in a week. You want to be able to preserve, especially your one and only striker that's left. Because I think that's the only thing that would have made sense to me is have him start. But based on how much he's been playing, you wouldn't want to risk that unless Isak was close to coming back, which he still isn't.
I mean, I think the problem is maybe you should give credit for Slot. If I was Slots and my job was in danger because of some of the limitations over here, I'd be like, you know what? This is what I have. So here we go. Ramsey at right back, Chiesa up top next to Rio. Are you guys happy now? And Neoni in the middle, and then I'll be like, there you go, because this is what we have for depth, and kind of like throw it out there, because that's the thing. Like we keep saying depth, and like everybody's like Rio over Gakpo. Okay, like 10 minutes, and I didn't understand the Gakpo hate. I know Cersei has like an agenda against Gakpo, so regardless, but I didn't watch that game. I was like, it's all because of Gakpo. Like it was not. I mean, what did Mo do throughout the game? If you think about it,
Gakpo had a perfect pass to Mo. Within the first 6-7 minutes? What was it? That volley that Mo absolutely fluffed. That last year probably is in the back of the net.
Yeah.
So what? Gakpo was supposed to use Mo's foot for him as well. Like, is that where we have to get to? That I don't know. It's wild.
I didn't think Gakpo was that poor. I mean, he's the new Joe Gomez, Lovren of the team, of the front line over there. When not scoring, I thought he did pretty well, actually, overall. I mean, nobody looked that great. And then Van Dijk does that thing in the back. Once again, it felt like, we set up the table doing that. I do not understand. I mean, look, calm as you like, that's what happens. That was not I don't know what the hell he's talking about. It was a difficult ball to control and stuff. Then don't control it. You could have just let it go, and it could have been like, I think it was going to be a goal kick. If he lets it bounce and keeps going, I think it's a goal kick, right? He's trying to do what he normally does, takes a touch and ends up being a pass, and he puts the ball into play or whatever. The second one, I just don't understand how we literally played a man down for that long and nobody just take a freaking foul, like yank somebody's shirts or like hit him late, whatever it is, take a foul. 7 minutes, I think they were saying, that we played with a man down. That's idiotic. I don't understand that at all. And that's on the players, though. That is on the players. And I don't know if like Slot said something about, he mentioned that they were trying to like get that message across. I don't understand how hard it is to get this message across, by the way. I know they had just scored, so the place was rocking and stuff like that. But I don't know, dude. Like everybody on the pitch has been playing this game for at least 10 to 15 years, right? So it should be like nobody should have to tell you that, hey, we need some kind of a stoppage in play. Because you see like him on the sideline. It would be one thing if there was nobody on the sideline and you were like, hey, he's getting ready, we don't know what's going on. No, he's there, like he's waiting to come in. That blows my mind.
They were waiting for a little piece of paper with the instructions on it to come from the sideline to then tear up and chuck into the pitch. Yeah, that's 100% on the players. And I don't know if a lot of things coming out. One of them about Slot instructing them to kick the ball out, them not doing it, them not listening to him. But like you're saying, he shouldn't have to instruct that. That's something at that level should be just an innate thing that you know to do, especially when you see Endo's ready to come on. It's a big difference, like you're saying, if the guy isn't ready to come on. But once he's there, standing next to the fourth official, ready to come on, you do whatever you need to do to stop the play. And That's it. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a frustrating thing altogether. And I feel like I'm so tired of this back and forth between everyone that it just ends up being the same every single week. And I think just for the sake of the club and the sake of the fans, Slot's going to need to go because there's nothing that he can do. There's nothing that can be done to change anyone's minds. I think even if they happen to win the Champions League and they go through a knockout stage, I even think most people are still going to want Slot out, who are already Slot out. That's not going to even change their mind.
Probably not. And that's the thing, because it'll be the players then. It's the players that want it, despite kind of thing. See, I don't buy this. This is there we go. Like Bob already got going over here. We don't want to blame the players, but man, you got to call it when you see it, I mean, when you see Van Dijk making that mistake, that has nothing to do with coaching. I mean, let's not kid ourselves over here. That's just dumb that we're saying that, Bob. I mean, that has nothing to do with coaching. When your leader, who's holding fucking meetings and shit, is doing that, you know what? You should be setting the example. Don't hold meetings. No goddamn meetings. Just show me. Like, show me on the pitch as a leader what needs to be done. Direct traffic, do what you got to do, bark at people if you have to, but don't do that, number one. And you got to do the basics. Nobody needs to tell you that, hey, we got to get the ball out of play or we got to take a foul, whatever it is, so we can get the sub in. Because you're on the pitch with a man down. It's not like, oh, we didn't even fucking notice. And honestly, that goal would probably not have happened. I know Slot kind of downplayed it, but I don't think that play would have happened if you have some pressure on the ball, but you had nobody in midfield because you made him a center back, and there you go. He has all kinds of like time on the ball. It's just like, I don't think anything about like management at that point. It's on the players. You can blame other stuff on the management. I'm all okay with that. I mean, it's just a mindset thing. I think somebody was talking about you must be happy, man. I know my brother is happy. I don't even know what the hell is going on. It's like the bizarro world over here. It was definitely not a good year to start rival bros, I can tell you that. But what I saw comments earlier regarding, I mean, in terms of like the management thing, I can understand where people are a bit more, the confidence is gone. You can kind of tell at the end, even like us, we're waiting almost something bad to happen than anything else. Whereas in the past, we were hoping for something good to happen. I think the confidence is shot. And I don't know if you want to blame the manager for that. I know if you want to blame the results for that. I think it kind of like goes around. Like I say, I started making the pie because I think it goes all the way to the top in terms of like the squad and not acting on the squad. I said this before, nobody complained about the squad over here until 5 minutes before the Gay thing collapsed, right? If you got Gay, it was going to be perfect. So nobody complained about the squad, but things change and you got to freaking adjust. Injuries happens and brutal injuries happen, not just, oh, he's out for like 2 weeks or something like that. And like you lost Bradley, you lost your center back in Leone, your depth. Isak is out. Those are like 3 huge injuries that leaves like huge holes. Not to mention the people that were sold that left holes that you didn't necessarily fill, especially like in Diaz and stuff. You got to be able to adjust. We're January 26th now, and not a move has been made and doesn't look like anything's going to happen. And if this squad keeps going like this, I don't care if you get like 8 managers doing it as a committee over here. I don't see it going well because you're going to lose more players, if anything.
Yeah. And especially the players that have been around for a long time that just don't have it within them anymore. Like you can't lean on Van Dijk being available every single game twice a week for the rest of the season. I know it's a fun thought. It's a good thought to have him be there, but he's getting to that point where one little knock and he's going to be out for several weeks, and then you're really stuck and you've got nothing. Not to mention that life things happen. We saw with Ibu, right, with his father. Yeah. That also happens. Not to mention what happened over the summer with this club. And so many of these fucking people said, I don't care what happens this year. I don't care what happens this year because of what happened over the summer. I don't care if they get 17th. I even heard Redmen TV say it. I think maybe it was today, maybe it was, I don't know. They said that they themselves sat there and said over the summer, I don't give a shit what happens because of what this club has gone through. Whatever happens, happens. We move on after this year. And now we're getting to this point where we are just being absolutely just toxic to one another, toxic to the manager that we're supposed to support, toxic to the players that we're supposed to support in a year that we knew was going to be challenging from the very beginning, and that we accepted that would be challenging from the very beginning. Yeah. And that's the most annoying thing, is that we can't sit here objectively and think back and go, okay, this is sort of what we expected to happen based on everything that we went through, that the club went through, and that's what was going to happen. But no, we have to just think of it as a perfect video game simulation where if anything goes wrong, you have to just scrap everything. I don't know. It's a really frustrating thing.
It is very well said. I think so. We kind of forget, and it almost looked like the club took us shopping to forget. Like we were all depressed. They were like, "You guys want to go shopping?" And like we made all these transfers, and maybe that kind of like turned the turned the mindset a little bit. They were like, "Oh, okay, like we made up for it. So we went shopping and stuff like that." See, I do not understand this. I honestly do not understand this. Like I don't like I've changed. Like people evolve. People should freaking evolve. You know what I mean? As you get older, especially, I feel like you gotta be able to look at a wider perspective. Mid game, I can understand. Right after the game, I can understand. But an hour after the game, 2 hours after the game, if you're still like there in the same mode, I just don't understand the just running on emotion nonstop kind of thing. Like there has to be some kind of a maturity and a perspective, especially as I get older. I was probably like that when I was younger, where I was 16, 17, where, you know what I mean? There weren't like bigger things to consider or other factors to consider. You just looked at what was on the pitch. You didn't look at, maybe there wasn't this much talk in the past of like money and all that kind of stuff, either wages and all that kind of shit. Like, I don't remember it being in depth, or maybe because I was, too young and not involved in that shit. I didn't care. I just wanted to win. And it was all on emotion and stuff like that. But I mean, this is the kind of stuff that like just drives me crazy, Bob. When we're winning, that complaining looks cute and is protecting the players. Your favorite club, and my favorite club too. I loved club not only as a manager but as a human being and stuff. Complain about everything under the fucking sun. Pitch was too dry. Pitch was too wet. It was too windy. Game is too early. Pitch was too wet. Game is too early. Whenever something didn't happen, he complained. What do we say? Because we were winning mostly. He's protecting the players. That's why he's like coming up with these excuses and stuff. And then he complained about the morning so much, people couldn't fucking wake up. Having said that, I'll ask you this. I am kind of sick of hearing the same thing, similar to when I like criticized Klopp for bitching about the early game 24/7. Because it's like, shut the hell up. Like, it is what it is. Prepare accordingly. Go to sleep early if you gotta fucking go. Whatever you gotta do it, because that's not an excuse to us, right? That they're playing early. I feel like Slot is doing sometimes the same thing. Like, we get it. And it's not going to change. You can complain about low block all you want. People are going to play the low block when they come to Anfield. They always have. This is nothing new. They always have. And it's happened. But this is. Are you freaking serious?
The team lost all of those games. This is hilarious because it's so much. Okay. Yeah. Never mind. Go ahead.
Bob, you got to be kidding, right? We could not win. We could not win to save our lives in the early games. Hence, that's why he was the thing. That, by the way, was from last year. I know everybody like dug out this quote that he had against Forest and stuff like that. But this is what I'm like so fucking sick of, man. Like just people just feeding that's why at this point, like, I don't care. Just fire the fucking manager so that I can fucking stop hearing people, because it is so freaking stupid. It just like blows my mind that, like we're now picking on stupid shit like this and we dropped everything else. I mean, Jesus. It just like drives me nuts. Bob, please pull. I think Matush is on Google right now. You gotta be kidding me if you thought we won all those morning games. Why would he complain about it if we won all those morning games? We did not.
The 22-23 year alone, 0 wins and 6 early kickoffs.
There you go, Bob. Stats.
We're not lying. I think that's the other part of it here. Just because someone doesn't agree with you doesn't mean you are lying. I think, and that's the problem of just, I think, societally, where we've come to a point where we can't even rationally and objectively have a conversation about something without having emotional bias and hindsight bias and this revisionist history on things that we try and remember. Like, you have to be able to separate yourself from that and be able to have a decent conversation without having it clouded by a bunch of emotional bullshit that doesn't really mean anything in the context of what we're trying to talk about. Check 23-24. Yeah, I can add up all of them right now if you'd like. from 2017 to 2024, there were 8, let's see, 8, 5, so that's 13, 19, 24, 32. They won.
I hear it's the hard drive warming up. The processor is warming up over there.
They won 17 of those 32 early kickoffs from 2017 through 2024. Half of them. That's not all of them.
Yeah. Oh, well, so 1 year we did it. Come on. I mean, that's the thing. At this point, that's why, like, you're right. We are kind of like doing revisionist history, and we're doing this constant comparing. Gally said it best. I mean, Klopp is not coming back. So that's not going to happen. Style-wise, not going to happen. Do people really think Xavi plays like Klopp or something? I mean, then tune into some Leverkusen games from last year, because it's not. I mean, I actually saw a lot of rumors last night, and I thought we were going to wake up to some kind of a managerial change and stuff like that. My fear is, at this point, mostly because of fans, I have to say, but also because of what the players are doing, and you can't get rid of all the players. How would we, like, I do not see a way Slot gets out of this. It feels like, especially with the ones with the powers that we are doing up top, the players and fans doing the stuff below, I don't see how he can kind of turn it around. I just don't.
There isn't, and unless there are more players to come in this window, he doesn't have anyone else to do it with, because he already doesn't trust the players who are at his disposal that are available. And so if you continue with that same group, there's only so much that he'll be able to pick from, right? And now Gomez, don't know how long he's going to be out. So now you're incredibly thin. You've got Van Dijk and Konate left.
Yep.
Right. And then you've got Bradley that's out for a long time. Frimpong that you probably can't play every single game week in, week out. On the left side, you have Kirkes, who evidently is also not able to play as often. And a guy in Robbo that you didn't trust as much because he was ready to leave. He was ready to go to London. And yeah, there isn't much to pick from anymore.
I don't understand what's Bob means.
I don't
just
know.
Because I mean, it's you amaze me sometimes, Bob. You really amaze me. You live like in your own like world and planets, where like alternative facts, as Fox News says over here in the US. It's just like everything is. I just don't understand why people have stopped literally rooting for the team at this point and just rooting Slot out. That's what the agenda has become. And I really don't care if Slot leaves and Xavi comes. I hope he does well. I'm not too big on that concept. I think it's horrible optics. I really thought I was going to wake up to it this morning, though, based on like everything I saw yesterday. Then Robertson staying, it's felt like maybe something was going to change and stuff like that. And that's why they were like, hey, wait till the new manager comes in, kind of a deal. But honestly, I don't see right now anything, because they are advancing in the Champions League. I think we were like kind of like talking about, if that didn't happen, I mean, they might be in the next round of the 24 or whatever if something goes wrong this Wednesday. But, and you know, they're playing against a team that will have a lot of fight and passion that we don't really show right now. But I mean, Scotty says, what would FSG prove by getting rid of Slots? New manager would need players the same way Slot does. I mean, the only advantage to that is, and I think, like I say, the next international break is March, I think. So I can see it like being doing that. I would think you don't do what some teams did, like, you know, United and Chelsea and stuff like that, and give a manager who's leaving another ton of money to spend to bring in players that the guy in 2 months might not want. That's the only thing that I can see that's for FSG.
Yeah. Because if your plan is to not stick with this manager no matter what happens for the rest of the year, you are not going to invest several more £1 million into players that, like you're saying, the next manager may not want, right? Unless the conversations behind closed doors are of whichever manager you are expecting to come in, and having those conversations with that manager too, and saying, hey, there's ideas of this player coming in. Is that someone you'd be able to use? Then sure, that works too. I guess the only other thing is, you could argue that a new manager could get different things out of some of the players depending on how he wants to set them up. But if we're not seeing a lot from the players now based on who they're playing and just the pride of being on the pitch itself, then I don't know what manager is going to come in and get even more out of them. That's my thing. Is I don't think this is a situation where Slot is not getting the most out of them. So by changing the manager, you're going to get the same thing out of these specific players right now, because I don't think there's much of a change to it to see.
Do you think like it would be? I mean, there is something to be said about new manager bounce, which I love how people are like looking at, like, look at what United did and stuff. Like we have like, this is how low the fan base has sunk, by the way. And I don't give a fuck what the majority of the fan base thinks, because we had an episode last Monday. We asked everybody why. And like, because we run it with emotion, so we run it by results, and I get that what people are going to say and stuff, but so looking at United's and getting guidance on what to do with management is freaking comical and pathetic to me. But there is something to be said about new manager bounce, just because it's a new voice in the dressing room, and maybe slight change in tactics. But more than that, would it make just a change in mindset, like, oh, we're starting over, so maybe on the 94th minute of a game you're not like, here we go again, because now in your mind psychologically this is a new beginning, this is not continuation of last week at Bournemouth.
Yeah, it could be, but I don't know. You fired the set piece coach, and apparently that was supposed to solve all the problems too. So there's that part of it. And
Yeah.
Neither of us, I think that's the other thing, is we're not sitting here saying we're so happy with the product on the pitch, we're elated with the results. We're not sitting here saying that. We're sitting here saying that there are consequences to your decisions, and we have to sit back and realize we're not the ones that are owning this club, that are making these big decisions. If fans controlled the decisions of teams, we wouldn't hold on to players for more than 18 months usually, because we're so fickle. And the second that we see someone not playing up to standard, not playing the way we want them to, we would just toss them out and bring someone in, because we're not running it like a business. We're running it like fans, like on emotion, like you're saying, right? So I think that's the important distinction here, is that we're not happy with what's happening. We're just trying to take a more pragmatic, rational approach. And I would just like to put this here. I got like the actual numbers: 19 wins out of 39 early morning kickoffs under Klopp. 19 out of 39.
That can't be right. You must be lying.
That is all of them. Like, according to Bob, Klopp won all of those games. So 19 out of 39. If that's all at a 50% clip,
we're winning all our games this season.
I'd want that job. Yeah, we'd be top of the league.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not saying like, that was, we complain about that then. Like, we criticize Klopp about that then, in terms of complaining over and over again about the morning games. And that's my thing. Like, I'm kind of like sick of hearing the low block. The first time you say it's a reason. The second time you say it's a reason, you're reminding. Afterwards, you're just like bitching and moaning about the same thing over and over again. And the player health and all that kind of stuff, let's not kid ourselves. Why didn't he? I thought, Bob, you kept saying over here that Klopp rotated all the time, so that wouldn't be an issue, right? Because he rotated so much. Every 2.5 day game should not be a big deal, because Klopp rotated so much. He did not. That's why he didn't want these games every 2.5 days, which was bullshit, because we would come back from like Champions League away game and then play the early game and
or
stuff. But when you keep saying it, and here's the thing, like I say, when you said, in terms of what's, like, when you complain about something, when things are going well, it looks like you're protecting the players. When he comes out and says the pitch was too dry and stuff like that, when the stuff is not going well, those become just excuses overall and not taking ownership and accountability and stuff like that. I mean, and honestly, I hate to say this, Z, I do not believe this. In my heart of hearts, I do not believe this. I don't believe that really a majority of these Slot out people want Slot to turn this around. I just don't believe it, because people at this point, I would rather be right than have Liverpool win. You would rather be right instead of like Gakpo coming out there and getting hat tricks all the time. You would rather be right. I think that's what we've kind of brought. That's why when people talk about, like this, the fans, if you really want a Slot to turn it around, I don't think we'd be going out to like chanting. Like, you can't chant slot out for the last 3 months and then say, "Oh, I really want him to do well." How that makes zero sense to me. I'm not buying that. That's just to look. That just looks good, but it doesn't sound right. I'm not. I'll tell you, and then you can kind of tell me. I honestly think we're getting to a point where, because of I said earlier, what they're doing up top and what the players doing down below, I don't think he's in a no lose situation right now. I think he can, but with all the circumstances, I don't think he can turn this around at this rate. But that's why if I woke up this morning and it was like, yeah, Slot is out, we talked to Xavi, he's coming in, it would feel really icky. I talked about this last week. It would feel really icky to get this guy in now and can the guy who won the title. But I don't want an interim manager. So I'd be okay with it if they said, "Hey, we have a new plan now. This is the new plan. I want that." I don't want him like firing Slots just to make people happy and then have an interim manager. Bring Stevie G just to make people happy and stuff. I just don't want that stupid like comedy circus over here and turn this into United. If you bring Xavi or if you bring somebody else in and say, "Yeah, we're moving direction, man. This didn't happen," I will be okay with that. But I just don't want to like an interim manager. Having said that, like I say, I don't think we have, and the fans can blame partially themselves, partially the top management, that Slot is in a situation where I don't think he can win.
Yeah. I think what I see happening is I think he gets enough time to see how far he gets in the Champions League. I think after they lose and get knocked out in the Champions League, I think that may be when the manager does get changed, because I think they're at least giving him that opportunity to get that.
But then you would automatically do an interim at that point, right? Because now you're in freaking April, May.
I guess, and maybe April, May, maybe earlier than that. I don't know. It depends on how far the team goes, right? I mean, that's the thing. You can't guess that.
If you qualify for the first 8, you probably don't play till March, right? Isn't that what we did last year? Didn't we get out of March, right? Against PSG?
Wasn't it late February, early March?
Let me look at that for you.
Look at the wonderful Google.
You can go ahead with your point. I'll pull this up.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think FSG Slot has enough credit in the bank, as much as some people don't want to admit it. He's won as many Premier League titles as Klopp has. I know that that might really hurt to hear because of some of the special seasons this club had, but that's the truth. This man has as many Premier League titles as Klopp does. And I think he's earned himself enough credit to at least see through the last competitions that we're in for that chance to be here. And I think earlier I said, even if this team happens to go on a magical run and win the Champions League, I still don't think many fans that are Slot out now will change their minds, and there's gonna be a change. I just don't know if the change is gonna be in March or in May. I think that's where I'm at. I don't see, for the sake of the fans, for the sake of this bullshit back and forth that we're going through all the time, it's not a healthy situation for anyone, for the players, for the manager, for the organization, for the fans. It doesn't seem like a healthy situation to keep them. So it just comes down to how much time you're willing to give. And that's why I think he's given at least the Champions League chance. And then from there, then he'll be done.
Yeah, first week of March was the I just had it. Yeah, March 5th and March 11th were the games against PSG last year. So if you go in that round, the earliest you would go out is, I guess, early March. And I hate to say it, that's why I felt like timing wise, I thought, when I saw the rumors, I was like, are we waking up to this? And I really think this because of the Xavi thing more than anything else that people are. I don't see a lot of people, even Sergi is not clamoring for Stevie G. I don't see a lot of people saying that, but everybody's saying Xavi. So if Xavi was not available, I don't know what the tone would be. I don't know if those people would then say Stevie G or something like that. I don't know where they would be. But because Xavi is available now, because he got fired, by the way, 3 months into the season anyway. But we forget that because that's how Real Madrid fans are. But that's how what we've become. I feel like, I'm like really disappointed in the fan base. I was talking to my Kieran, who's actually in Ireland. But he like goes to games like like 4 or 5 times a year, because he's like really darn close over there. And like he was saying that it was just like so torn, like when he goes to the pub and stuff like that. And he's more like on Mike, like he's actually even like totally slotted. Like he makes me look like like I am slot out kind of a thing, just because like he won the title and he needs more time and stuff. I think Bob was talking about earlier in terms of like when you bring other pieces in, it would work better if there was like a sets, like a piece, like a system that they go into. But I think what people fail to understand is system is changing and that takes time. I mean, it took years, it took 2-3 seasons for Klopp to establish that system. So when you brought somebody in, even then, like it took 2-3 months before he trusted him to go into that system. So Liverpool Colon says 80 goals conceded since, and like, what the funny thing is, like the goals are just like mind-blowing goals. Like you can't make this shit up goals. Like if I told you that like, these would be the goals we concede away at Bournemouth when we started the season, you'd be like, nah. And I was just pulling that up, by the way. So we started the season with those ridiculous games, right? Late goals, wins, mentality monsters, and all that kind of stuff. So 97th minute to Crystal Palace, lost 2-1. The Fulham 97th minutes 2-2. 96th minute to Chelsea 2-1. 96th minute to Leeds 3-3. And then 95th minute now 3-2 to Bournemouth. That's freaking like, you can't make that shit up. That's 5 games. And I honestly, like, 2 of them would have been wins and the other ones would have been draws instead of losses. So that's like an automatic, like another 6-7 points you would have. It's freaking crazy, the margins. But I kind of blame it all on like confidence at the end. It's just like when you're on the pitch waiting for something bad to happen, that shit is gonna happen. Just like when we said the positive in the past, where they believed that they're gonna eventually score because they always do. I almost feel like they worry that they're gonna concede because they always do.
Yeah, and it's compounded by moments like you had against Bournemouth this past Saturday, where Van Dijk makes a mistake, puts his hands up as if it's someone else's fault in that moment, right? And I think that's really indicative of the leadership on the pitch specifically. If you have the leaders on the pitch that don't blame your other teammates for the mistakes that you make and you hold each other accountable, I think there's a lot more confidence to be had across the 11. Whereas if you're just throwing your hands up and you're blaming whoever's around you, right, that kind of bleeds into everyone else, especially when this is the guy that's supposed to be the captain that's getting you through the rougher parts. If he's just not taking accountability for his own mistakes and blaming anything but himself, that starts to weigh on everyone else, and it bleeds through. And I think we're missing some strong voices on the pitch to just be like, get your fucking head out of your ass, right? Like Hendo, Milner, those types where they just like, they don't care what happened. You set it aside and you go through it. And I think we're missing some of those voices right now.
I was kind of like extremely disappointed with like Van Dijk's like comments post match about the goal and stuff like that too. I mean, that's when I want my captain to say, yeah, I fucked up. I should set a better example and stuff like that. But like instead, kind of like trying to excuse it somehow, that's disappointing for a guy holding team meetings and stuff. I'm sure he didn't say that at the team meetings. Like blame the wind, kids. You got to be able to own up to that. I just do not get that. But 208, honestly, that was kind of like yesterday's game. What was that? Saturday's game. It was weird. Like there was like no midfield the last 15-20 minutes, just one goal. It was like 4-on-4 on one side, 5-on-5 on the other side. It felt like it was just like a weird game. And honestly, you would think that would suit us, but we just don't have like that critical. It always like the pass before the pass never happens right. It feels like we had so many situations where the pass before the pass, the hockey assist, if you will, was never right. And that's kind of like where we're at. And I honestly, like I say, do not. Yeah, I mean they're apparently
it's because they play there every day. They're used to it. They know how to work the wind. our players have never seen wind that windy before.
Yeah, that was just like, yeah, I wish he owned up to that and said, I should know better. I know what he was trying to do. We all know what he was trying to do. And just say, you know what? Yeah, it was a mistouch, bad time. I almost cost us the game. We came back. I thought that's the thing, for people constantly saying that he has lost the players and stuff like that. I see these comebacks. Mind you, we didn't even talk about, because I haven't been on air since Wednesday morning where we did the pre-match for the Champions League. So we didn't even talk about, midweek where they looked more like a normal team. I know, albeit being against like, French opposition and stuff like that. But I wish, like he said that, and I see the players coming back in games, winning games midweek, coming down from like being down and stuff like that. I just don't see that as players who have given up. Or do you think it's just their, natural player pride that keeps it going? I just feel like players who quit for the manager and who want the manager out do not crawl back to get a game tied away at Bournemouth from 2-0.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the frustrating thing is on the other end, the player pride thing is that you would think that all these late 94th, 95th, 96th, 97th minute goals that are being let up, that the pride would come in and stop that leaking too.
True.
So but yeah, I don't think if they truly didn't believe in the manager, we'd see the score lines end at 3-0, 2-0, 3-1. Like they wouldn't make it a game. And I think that's one of the other reasons why I don't think Slot's going to leave within the next couple months, because he still has the dressing room. As much as everyone likes to say he doesn't, I do think he still does.
I'll be honest, like when that turned 2-0, the momentum, the way it was going, and we kind of looked like deer in the headlights. I was like, man, this can get ugly fast if Bournemouth was able to capitalize in those like few minutes, but then we kind of like regrouped. And that's what I mean. Like you see that and you're like, okay, Satish says, the problem now is like when I see the squad, first of all, Ekitike should not be upset at not starting. When I see the squad, I'm rarely surprised because I know, unlike most, like when you see something like that, you got to be like, why? And I automatically knew it was probably minutes number one. And mind you, we're talking about Ekitike, who was offside, I think, like 6 or 7 times in France midweek. And he wasn't good yesterday either. But I don't think it's, I mean, like, we're being okay with this now. Jesus freaking Christ, man. So we're okay with that now. A player's upset not to start, so he plays like shit when he comes in. It's cool. It's the manager's fault, not the players. Yeah. No, I mean, so midweek, Slot told him to be offside like 5-6 times. I don't think he was benched, mind you, because of his performance. But when I saw him, kind of like, when like Frimpong comes out, everybody's like, well, he was the best one. I mean, there's a reason why he's coming out. The minutes and a lot of like the sports science people are dictating these minutes. I did not understand the Kirkes thing because he said something about 45 to 60 minutes. Usually when somebody is like that, you don't start him, but I don't know. And if he's 45, 60 minutes, you're going to put Robertson in, right? Why not start Robertson and then have Kirkes come in the last 30? That's one that I question more in terms of decision-making.
I think
the Tika thing.
I think if Gomez stays fit in the game, I think he moves over to left back, and then you.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I think maybe that was the plan. Instead of having Robbo come in at half, you have Gomez move over to that left side and then bring on maybe an Endo or send Gravenberch back at that center back. I think if Gomez is fit, I think that's what happens, honestly. Because like you're saying, Robbo should have started then. If Kirkes only had the 45, Robbo should have started. So I think Gomez was supposed to go to the left side. And then because he came out, that changed what Slot had to do. But again, I don't know what he was going to do, because that's just, I'm just guessing like everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think of that, actually. That's a good possibility. I don't know if like that's expecting it too much from Gomez too, after playing midweek as well. I was already worried about that because he played like he had to play midweek. And of course, we're kind of assuming that, like he's going to be coming back. But Terrell says he's surprised every game. I'm not like when I see the lineup, I was like, oh, really? But usually I can kind of be like, oh, that's probably why. And then you hear the post match interview and you're like, oh, that was why. Like the minutes they had and stuff like that. So it's not, that's the problem now is when he's kind of like going off of um, like what's available and the minutes or in, you know what I mean, as opposed to actually coming up with the yeah, this is my best 11 and stuff like that. That's where we're at. That's the part of the thing I blame on the powers that be, because it's not like you have options. All these people who are complaining, give me your starting 11, even though you're looking at it post match, mind you, but give me your starting 11. It's not going to be a whole lot different. Like you said, you might start Jones. You were not, I mean, I don't think anybody would be here saying like I would have started Rio away at Bournemouth. Because
No, there are people actually saying that though, because they think it's just a video game that you throw on to rotate for fun, not understanding that that is not a game that you throw on a 17-year-old. In the windy conditions at Bournemouth, you're not going to do that. It doesn't make sense. It's too much too soon for him. And if you really think that Rio is the answer at 17 and he will fix all of the problems, then there are much bigger issues then.
You know, that's what kills me is if this happened, you know, people like Bob, if this happened in the club era, we would blame the powers that be and say, so they're making Klopp rely on a 17-year-old to succeed. That will be the narrative, right? Now the narrative is Slot is not giving an opportunity to the 17-year-old. And this is what kills me in terms of how people like look at this now, where we do not. See, I don't think Hugo can play 90, first of all. Like we've established this, right? He can't go 90 minutes for one reason or another. Definitely in the Premier League, he cannot go 90 minutes. So, and there's nobody to come off the bench. And I would argue that, you know, like I say, I don't think Gakpo was that bad either. Jurgen was
it's because
never free from criticism.
The
he
fans,
was free. He
the
was
fans,
free.
The fans of this club didn't let other fans criticize him. That's why he was free from criticism. Because if you ever said anything negative at all against Klopp, you were chastised. You were brutally harassed for saying such a terrible thing about our Lord and Savior Jurgen Klopp. That's what
and honestly, like, you know, the advantage, especially towards the end of the Klopp era, goes back to like what Bob was saying earlier. You had a system. So it was a bit easier to put those guys in and be like, yeah, you know what to do in the system. But I mean, your starting 11 right now is not used to the system. So it's kind of like makes it tricky. See, that's the thing. I mean, and Terrell makes a good point over there that, you know, we did not bring someone else into, you know, blocking Rio. But I don't know if that was basically what we sold slots or what the top sold the club, right? Like we're like, yeah, you don't need another. Like he wanted Diaz replaced. They were like, you don't need some. There's that kid right there. Just play him. Like he's good. Look at him. Look at him. Yeah. And I think that's what they did. I don't think in Slot's mind that was. And this is the danger of having a coach and not like a manager, I think, in some ways, which, like I say, we've defended both. There's advantage and disadvantages to both. But I think this is the disadvantage over here. I think that's like the bigger difference over there. Josh says, I totally understand the frustration with Slot, but the players are the ones on the pitch. If they're losing concentration, making silly individual errors in key moments, that's a mentality issue. And yeah, I mean, that's what we were talking about. The thing with that is when it's happening over and over again, sadly, what happens is you can't get rid of every freaking player. So you have to get rid of somebody who's going to kind of like impact that mentality, I guess. I get that part of it, but still. Wayne Rooney was starting games at that age. There's a certain Jamal that starts games at that age consistently. Yeah, there. I mean, but look how many examples you can give, Mikel. I mean, you're giving like ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like you're giving very, very rare
generational player. Like you're comparing him to one of the best strikers that England has ever produced, and then a generational talent in Jamal Musiala, who plays in the Bundesliga on Bayern Munich, right? I mean, that's the difference here. He's playing against in a league that has no competition for that team. That team just lost for the first time yesterday or the day before against Augsburg.
Now they're only up by 12 points or something.
Right. there isn't much there. You can say, I would gladly take examples like Sterling, like people are saying in the comments. That's a much more appropriate comparison because you're not taking a generational kind of player also in a shitty league. But the team that you have available and the system also dictates the opportunities for those players at that time. And I think Sterling was quite ahead of where Rio is now too. Right? I think that's the other thing is that Sterling at 17, much better than Rio at 17. That's why he was getting the opportunity.
I think the league has changed, number one. League has changed a lot, and the expectations from players has changed a lot in recent years. I mean, Chris says, and I think that's a good point, like the sports scientists make the guidance on young players. Many excellent young players were done early because of being overworked young.
Like
I mean, Barcelona is well known for this fact, actually, for example. I mean, they get a lot of their academy and they kind of grind them out. But I think more than that, if Ekitike can't go 90 minutes, there's no way Rio is going to, because he has specifically said that Rio is still getting used to the. I think we kind of, when we watch games, we're used to it. And if you're only watching the Premier League, I think you almost get used to it. Even then, like you're like, it's fat. We don't, I think, realize if you watch another league's games, I think like when you watch a lot of these like Europa games or Champions League and stuff, you see the pace of the match. I think it's partially how it's refereed. It is refereed where the game is going a lot faster, less stoppages and stuff. And then I think overall the pace of the game is so much more demanding. I mean, every player that comes to the Premier League says this is the real shit kind of a thing and struggles. And there's like a clear reason for that. Here's another thing, like there's a difference between starting in a team that's established and you're the only young kid there. Like Bob was giving examples about like Clark and Morton and stuff like that. I think that's different to come in and say, hey, we're winning. All you got to do is don't fuck up, right? That's what you're coming in for. No, like people are throwing Rio in there to be the savior. And I think for a 17-year-old psychology, that is very, very different than just coming in and say, hey, you know what, this is a League Cup game, go ahead and play over there. Or, hey, this is the team that beats everybody. All you got to do is just do your role and we're good. And I think that's what we're kind of like. I don't want us to lose Rio just because. And I think sometimes I love Rio and you can kind of see the potential and stuff. But man, you got to give these kids time to kind of get that. Remember when Brewster came along? I saw him the other day in a game. He was coming off the bench. I think he's still at Sheffield. I can't remember where it was, but he was coming off the bench. And I was like, man, he was like the next Bobby and stuff like that. You got to like Woodburn. There's so many freaking examples of players that fans said he should play. They never made it because it's not. This is Liverpool. It's not that easy to be able to kind of break into the lineup and like make it. So what do you think about that? I know we're about to wrap up over here, but because I feel like I know what Josh is saying, but then this is where we have put the team in a situation where they can't win because then it's just another draw. It's like the 6th draw in a row and stuff like that. So I don't blame him for not.
Like, he did that against Fulham, right? And every player packed the box. And it left a wide open strike for Reed Harrison, who scored the goal of his lifetime. And then fans went away from that saying, I can't believe Slot let that goal in at the end. Okay, well, we've conceded off of these long throw-ins all year, so we packed the box, right? And now you pack the box again, there's a scramble, and you give up another goal. That's not on the manager. At some point, you have to just say that was a shitty clearance by the team. They were not able to get the ball out. And that's that. Neither goal against Fulham at the end or against Bournemouth at the end was on Slot.
Yeah, like I say, though, the only thing that it always goes back to is how do you change the mentality of, 18, whatever we have left in the squad, 18, 20 people. I just don't know, what you can. But see, those are
the players.
Oh, that was the play. Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Satish. I mean, that's on players. Somebody's going to take a foul. Somebody's going to kick the ball out of to get the guy in because they see him on the sideline waiting to come in. It's not like, are we done yet? Chris says people get carried away with the Newcastle goal and a few step overs. Viewers are going to save this team. I don't think it's not about like he hasn't had the potential. He shouldn't. I agree with Z that he should get more minutes, but the situation is like we're never up so comfortable that you can be like throw Rio out there for like 10, 15 minutes. Like even midweek in the Champions League game, you would have hoped that he comes in to help the rotation and stuff, but the game is not put away yet. So all the way to the end, it felt like. So that's the problem is we're not winning regularly to be able to do that.
Bob has selective hearing. I think a lot of people have. I think a lot of people have selective hearing. We're not saying that it's nothing on the man. I'm saying those last 2 goals are not on Slot. That's it. That's literally it. You're trying way too hard at this, Bob.
And that's the thing. Like nobody's here saying Slot is great. He's doing an excellent job over there. Like, what are you guys looking at? Kind of a deal. But I just don't understand how 95% is his fault in minds of people. That's what. And then the other 5 is Gakpo. Like nobody else. 95 on Slot. It's all the Dutch people. And you watch this game and put that in there. I think it has to be divided a lot more evenly than what people are doing over there. And that's what gets me. And that gets me probably like more defensive to, for the manager, because I feel like it's almost like people are bullying and you're trying to save the guy from the bullies because it doesn't make sense to put 95% on him is after watching some of these games. That's just crazy. Wednesday morning, probably, Ozan. We play Wednesday, right?
Yeah,
I said that, but Wednesday morning, Audrey and Gary should be in the house again. Let's make sure over here. Because I think there is no Tuesday games this week
because everybody's
playing at the same time. Yeah, that would make for great for a goal rush, but unfortunately, we'll be watching the Liverpool game. So Monday, I'll be back. I should be back tonight in time for the 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern Monday night podcast.
You sure you want to do this again?
I don't know. Maybe Bob will be asleep. Bob, go to bed early. But no, like I say, I'm okay with like hearing different perspectives and stuff like that too. I just I want to. That's why we did what we did last week. I knew we were not going to talk anything about the game when we talk about the Burnley game. So it was just me and Gally, and I was like, you know what? Let's just hear people out and slots in and slots on and stuff. Yeah, I mean that's Solo knows. Solo and I are in this wonderful chats where it's nothing but Slot's hates. Doesn't matter. Van Dijk's nose is running because Slot gave him the cold. Yeah, it's just like, everything is somehow like Slot's fault. That's what kills me. You got to be able to divide the blame a lot more evenly than that. Having said that, like, I get it. You can't change 18, 20 players. I don't know how many healthy ones we have. But so it looks like it's going to, we'll put the manager in a spot where, and fans can take the blame partially for that. We put him in a spot where he can succeed. I think if people were behind the manager, there would be more pressure being put on like Edwards and stuff like that, right? But they're not. They're piling on the manager, which I almost feel like Edwards and them are like, good. Nobody's even looking at us. Just keep walking. They got slots. In the background, people are just like pummeling slots and stuff like that. So
because the board hasn't signed a center back in 6-7 years, like an actual senior center back in a very long time. So that goes beyond Slot. That goes beyond Klopp.
Okay. Edwards is 100% where I'm looking, says Chris. And I don't think that's 100 either. But like I say, it's a lot more even. It's my famous pie. Just do the slices. We'll bake pie tonight.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, man. Red card incoming. Okay. Yeah. Mind you, we say that. But, I mean, unless you force Konate back into action, his dad passed away. I mean, we talked about this before when we were talking about the Jota thing where everybody kind of handles it differently. So I don't know. Like my dad passed away. I just wanted to get back into life. I wanted to play. Like I wanted to do stuff to not think about it and stuff, but everybody's different if he has to take care of his family and stuff like that. So it will be kind of like interesting to see. You don't want to put the kid in a situation where he feels like he has to play now and not because he's ready. And I think you can afford to do Gravenberg or somebody like that on center back on Wednesday, as opposed to, like forcing him to come back and like, hopefully give him another week and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
I mean, that's the exact opposite. Like you said, you wanted to get back into playing. When my dad died, I quit sports. I was a freshman in high school. I stopped playing for 2 years. So like,
Really? Okay.
Yeah, everything. And it goes back to this summer of us saying pretty comfortably, we are okay with the season no matter how it goes. And now 4 months later, we're saying, fuck this entire team, fuck this manager, fuck everything.
Yeah.
Like, just sit back. I know it's an emotional thing, but just let it ride out a little bit. It's fine.
I mean, that's another thing. Like, I didn't think about, Chris is right. I mean, this is compounded. Like, it's not just, he did lose a friend and then his dad. So that's tough. That's tough on the kid. And he's young. Like, he's not, I mean, all these guys are pretty much kids, but he's like young as well. So it's difficult. That's weird. I'm a good escape guy. I'm a big escape guy, I should say. I find an escape and run over that way when something like that happens. Sometimes, like during like work and stuff, for example, it was like a gaming at nights, like when you come back from work, that was like the escape, so you don't think about stuff. That was my thing. If I didn't want to think, I had to go out, I had to play and stuff. And then it's more fun to kick somebody instead of
yourself
punching somebody on the underground in the face or something. So it was more legal to do that, so I went that route. But yeah, that's like I say, everybody's different, so I would hate to rush him back, especially for the Carada game. But sadly, he would probably be there for like the Newcastle game. We'll see. So, okay, Monday, day off, right? I know you're not going out in this goddamn weather. I hope.
It's grooming day for the dog.
Dude, I would do it myself if I were you and see what you can muster. Like, get some exercise. And it is way too cold for any kind of grooming.
It's better than Friday, though. At least it's not Friday. So
if you didn't take him, would Michelle even know? Like, if you said, "Oh yeah,
yes.
I took him."
Yes, because she sheds so much. But the groomer is essentially in our neighborhood. It's about 4 minutes away. So it couldn't be any closer, any better than where it is now.
Yeah, but you're gonna freaking like warm up the car for 40 minutes before you try those 4.
Sacrifices have to be made.
I'll be back tonight where I will sacrifice myself. So 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Do meet us then. Have an awesome week, everybody. Things will get better, so don't worry about it. Have a good one. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.